Samurai Shodown was released for the Sega Genesis by Takara in 1994. It was released for the Sega CD by JVC Musical Industries and Funcom in 1995. So, what's the difference? The first difference you'll notice is the opening cutscene. The Sega CD retains the opening from the arcade, while the Genesis game doesn't. The Sega CD game has all the cutscenes from the arcade, like the post-fight scenes. Genesis just adds text to the gameplay. Sega CD has in-game cutscenes too, while the Genesis doesn't. Plus, the cutscenes on Sega CD do look better in general. Another difference you'll notice is the sound. The Sega CD has a voiceover for the opening, again like the arcade. Sega CD also has a few extra voiceovers, like when announcing the names of fighters. You can also hear things in the background, like fire, water, or nature. The Genesis has none of this. The soundtrack has also been given an upgrade on Sega CD. While the audio quality is improved, some of those voiceovers are still a bit distorted. When it comes to graphics, the colors of the Sega CD look more vibrant. The Sega CD looks sharper and has more detail. The Sega CD background also tends to have more effects, whether it's rain on this level, fire in this level, or a cool sky here. Most levels do look better on Sega CD, but not all of them. Look at this level on Genesis. Snow is falling and you see lots of shadows in the ground, giving it depth. On Sega CD, no snowfall, no shadows. Both games have the cropped look, but Sega CD is a little more cropped, so the characters do look bigger. And it barely shows the black barred lines, unlike the Genesis game. The Sega CD also has more blood than the Genesis. You see it after every hit. The Genesis instead has the screen flash red. You also see lots of blood spray after some Sega CD victories. The Genesis doesn't have that. Instead, it lets you chop some bodies in half, which is pretty cool too. When it comes to gameplay, they feel the same. Both games have slowdown, but the Sega CD has a little less, so it's a little smoother. It should be noted that both games are missing Earthquake, as he was too big since both these games are cropped. So it seems like the Sega CD has a lot more than the Genesis game, but it's also missing many features. First off, the Sega CD is missing the official, Kuroku. He's not in the game at all. He's in every level of the Genesis game, following the fight and waving his flags. Another character missing is Hikyaku, the guy giving out items. There he is on Genesis. Even though he's missing on Sega CD, you will still see some items come from out of nowhere. Another thing missing on Sega CD is the destructible environments. Being able to destroy objects as you face your opponent is completely missing from the Sega CD. And while the Sega CD game does have more voiceovers, it's still missing some. When a match starts on Genesis, you hear a voiceover. Nothing on Sega CD. When a match ends, you get more voiceovers on Genesis. Again, nothing on Sega CD. Those drums and voiceover are really satisfying to hear when a match ends. Let's talk about some smaller details. Let's look at the life bars. When the life bar is low on Genesis, it flashes red. It doesn't flash or change color at all on Sega CD. Another small detail is the button smash icon that pops up when the weapons collide on Genesis. Once again, it's missing completely from Sega CD. While it doesn't change anything, it's still fun to look at. The versus modes are different too. Both games have a regular versus mode, but the Genesis has an exclusive Showdown mode. This lets you prepare multiple fighters in a row. It's missing completely from the Sega CD game. Then we have the regular versus mode in both games. They seem similar, but the Genesis game has more features. When you select the fighters on Genesis, you get to control the strength, time, frequency of items, and select the level. You can't do any of that on Sega CD. The Genesis game also gives you battle stats after each battle. Again, completely missing from Sega CD. Also, you get to play as Makusa on the Genesis in both versus modes. Can't play as him on Sega CD. Makusa is there, you can see his face in the character select, but you're not allowed to play as him. And I couldn't find any cheat codes for Sega CD either. Don't know why he's there. Sega CD also does something weird after a versus mode match. Instead of immediately going to the character select, it makes you select the characters right there. Makes you scroll through the names one at a time until you find your character. And if you take too much time, then it just selects for you. Just go to the character select like the Genesis game. One major difference in both games is the continues. The Genesis game gives you unlimited continues. So how many does the Sega CD game give? 3. That's it. Are you kidding me? Why did they change it? Plus, the Sega CD game is really hard. Even on the easy difficulty, you'd be hard pressed to beat the game with only 3 continues. It makes a difficult game so much more frustrating. I definitely don't agree with that decision. And of course, I can't talk about a Sega CD game without talking about the loading. You see this disc access screen a lot. You see it when you select your difficulty, before a match starts, after a match is over, after the post-fight cutscene, after using continue, a lot. You see this loading screen a lot. And they are pretty long. So, is it worth it? I'd say no. While the Sega CD made some small improvements to graphics, sound, and even gameplay, it's just missing too much. This game came out a year after the Genesis version. Why is it missing so many features? Small improvements aren't worth the many missing features, poor versus mode, limited continues, and long loading times. I mean, maybe if it's cheap enough, it could. Nope, it's not. A lot cheaper on Genesis. So if you want to play Samurai Shodown on Sega, just stick with the one on Genesis.
Nobody